Pluto Crossing, created, directed, and presented by Reverend Dr. Dikki Jo Mullen. In this video, Dr. Mullen will look at the various associations between planets and stars during this position or transition through Pluto. Interestingly, she will point out that the American Revolution of the 1700s saw a similar configuration, and similarly around the Great Depression in the 20th century. Dikki Jo will now share details of her experience in exploring the current configurations.
This is astrologer Dikki Jo Mullen in Orlando, Florida, with a special presentation about the rare Pluto Crossing of 2018. As the world around us expands, more and more details about the mysteries of the universe become known. Of course, it's all been there for eons, but only since humanity has been capable of finding out with advances in astronomy about these details have we been capable of responding to them. This year of 2018, some information about a rare Pluto crossing of the plane of the ecliptic, that's the Earth's orbit, moving from north to south, has been the big news in the astrology community. The last time this happened was on July 2nd of 1770, and that's 248 years in between crossings. On September 4th of 1930, Pluto made the crossing moving in the opposite direction, from south to north. These crossings have an aftershock effect for many years, and the 1930 crossing correlated with the Great Depression globally. In 1770, the crossing was a prelude to worldwide revolution stirring. The world stage was set then for the American and French revolutions and the rise of democracy, which took place over the couple of hundred years following. The Industrial Revolution was forever impacting daily life during the late 18th century, and Pluto relates to the masses, industry, and ecology. Pluto represents deaths and rebirths, and at each of those times there was the death of one phase of human culture and the rebirth or birth of another. Pluto has a wildly eccentric orbit, and its crossing pattern is infrequent and changeable. Does this upcoming transit once again foretell some kind of a transformation or cataclysm? Because on Halloween of 2018, October 31st, 2018, Pluto will again be crossing the same way it was on July 2nd of 1770. This is so rare that we have very little precedence to go by. Recent developments around the planet during the summer and autumn of 2018 certainly hinted that something was about to happen. Floods, volcanic eruptions, temperature extremes, fires, not to mention political upheaval, and economic and ecological concerns are intense and obvious. Intense is a primary keyword associated with Pluto. A NASA source gives July of 2018 as the time of the current Pluto crossing, and also listed 1931, not 1930, for the previous one. However, astrological calculations approach it from a slightly different angle across the vast vistas of space, so there's a little bit of a glitch there, but the general time frame is the same. Using Greenwich, England for the coordinates, because that's where all of the astronomy and astrology tables have as a beginning point, I set up noon charts for the 1930 and the 1770 events. The 1770 chart shows Pluto in Capricorn widely oppose the Sun and Mercury in Cancer. Oppositions are problems that come from other sources, and this showed a challenge to the status quo. In that 1770 chart, Uranus and Mars in Taurus oppose a Scorpio moon. This definitely showed the impact on the environment and a suggestion of treachery and treason afoot, all of which was taking place on the world stage in the 1770s and beyond. That 1930 event chart shows a stellium in Cancer with Pluto, Jupiter, and Mars opposing Saturn in Capricorn and squaring Uranus in Aries. The moon is on the Capricorn-Aquarius cusp in that chart. The Great Depression at that time stirred the events which eventually collapsed into World War II. And these extreme aspects showed that the planet and society were never the same again. With the nuclear weapons that were developed upon the discovery of Pluto in 1930, according to Nikola Tesla's calculations, we have the capability of splitting the Earth open like an egg. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but the hint of nuclear war to come is definitely hovering as 2018 moved along. July of 2018 was an eventful month, to say the least. Considering NASA's data, the impact of the extremely long eclipse we had on July 27th, as well as the exceptional number of retrograde planets. At one time, 7 planets were retrograde over that summer, amplified by Pluto's crossing. If we go to the astrological angles and look at Halloween of 2018, the event chart shows Uranus again in Taurus, as it was in the 1930 chart, opposing the Sun and Venus in Scorpio. Pluto and Saturn are in Capricorn once again, oppose the moon in Cancer. Now the United States is a Cancer country. July 4th is our birth date, and at the time of the Constitution, Pluto was in Capricorn the last time, so we're going through a rare Pluto return. We have a grand trine in the water signs formed by the moon in Cancer, Jupiter and Mercury in Scorpio, and both Neptune and Chiron in Pisces on the Halloween 2018 chart, and the national horoscope of the United States, July 4th, 1776, ties in profoundly with these influences. These are some heavy-duty star patterns. Contemplating what they might mean provides a most provocative puzzle. Does it all link to the spiritual and mystical traditions of Halloween somehow? What do you think? What does this mean to you on an individual level? Look at Pluto in your own birth chart for a personal message. Pluto rules the underworld. If you want to really understand astrology, think of the mythological archetypes. And who was Pluto? The god of the afterlife, who kidnapped Persephone and let her go back to the surface once a year. She ate pomegranate seeds beneath the surface of the earth in Hades. Metaphorically, that shows we have to be our own best friends and be responsible for the decisions we're making. On a broader level, Pluto rules crime, violence, volcanoes, the ecological fate of the planet, and the dawn of a new day. Think of what all of that means and be aware that this is an extreme and significant time that is around us in the heavens. It was all meant to be. This isn't a scare tactic, but more like be observant, watch and wait. Because going way back to the book of Revelations, Black Elk's predictions, Edgar Cayce, and also the predictions of Nostradamus and Mother Shipton, all the great prophets have said that this time in world history would be a turning point, and it all correlates with the great Pluto crossing of 2018. This is Dikki Jo Mullen in Orlando, Florida, wishing you a bright and magical Halloween.